These two are at very different
I'm gonna
points in
take
their
you off
careers.
air, bro. It's happening. It's happening in real time. Start
No,
this.
please. No, please. Don't make me more scared. I'm already too hostile apparently. This is the problem though with picking that Talia away from SeTab is that if you're red side, you see Varus come online. I mean, you got to pick that thing up. So 1xN will be on the most picked 80 carry in the LPL so far this year.
Okay. For Xiaohong Ren, I think that you can just go for a Xin Zhao. I think it just has enough utility. Maybe you decide we're going for another engage in jungler, but this Xin Zhao has just gone so much stronger, I think, and you see a lot of teams with the fact that Vi is almost never a game one possibility. It seems to make sense here. So picking up some pretty strong, some pretty good team fight, I think, coming in from the side of JDG. Just for Scout, I think his last Talia performance left a little bit to be desired. So we'll have to see whether or not he can kind of provide something a little bit better than what he did versus TT last time.
I'm hoping to see Scout take a page out of Hai Chao's last Talia game. Guy was a rock star. Yeah, I just said that.
I never thought I would have to say that in 2025, but here we are.
Here we are. I never a fan of putting one of the most mechanically proficient and best AD carry players, in my opinion, in the LPL, on a Misfortune. But that will be locked in. Don't hate it next to the Scion, the Talia, a lot of like ground movers, hard CC commits, buy a lot of space for the MF, but Peyz is now on the duty of hit a big bullet time or your champion feels like kind of irrelevant.
Okay. I mean, it's fine for right now. Scion is going to neutralize a lot of lanes, and if they really want to, JDG can kind of continue to move their bottom lane, especially with Misfortune's Strut passive. It'll be easier for ThunderTalk to take control of mid lane as the game goes on. We're getting the Ornn now, so a little bit more long range. ThunderTalk are going to hopefully be able to take a pretty good skirmish. Their ultimates alongside just the range of the Varus make it very difficult for JDG. So vision control is, I think, going to be more and more important. And what supports allow you to kind of cheat around the map. Rakan potentially a possibility here.
That's a good one.
I don't think you really want to choose too many supports that are a little bit less tanky. In particular, I think Braum might lose a little bit of value here for both teams, but we'll end up seeing as we get into the second phase of bans, and already the Pantheon taken away. A pretty good one when we're talking about the jungle and support flex.
Yep, definitely. Maybe Poppy garners some attention here as well, is definitely having a lot of mobility. Aren't too many dashes on the board that enable the steadfast presence to be a really big threat. Obviously with Misfortune as well, her best pairing always feels like Rel when you talk about getting the most out of those bullet times. Wonder if ThunderTalk are willing to give a ban like that. No, the Braum you were mentioning, Onk, will actually pull that final ban for ThunderTalk.
Okay. So
now, what are they going to leave to R5 here is ThunderTalk? Because I've seen support R5 be prioritized decently heavy.
I don't even think you need support R5. I think you can just slam a Leona here as ThunderTalk and feel really good.
Okay.
I mean, you're going to have priority targets. You're going to say that Talia, Misfortune, if you don't have Flash, you're just getting ulted. And that means it's nearly impossible for specifically Peyz on this Misfortune to ever actually get a relevant bullet time off.
That's a great call.
You can go for Leona here. You could also potentially look towards mid as you already know kind of the setup.
Yeah.
You probably are going to be wanting some kind of... If you're SeTab, you can go for the Rise. You can go for Talia, or sorry, for the Azir. Okay. Going for Nautilus. Not the choice I would have gone, but similar to the Leona.
Yeah, you still have space if you hit the depth charge and Peyz's mid bullet time. You can knock him out of those last couple of charges. We talked about how Rel is one of the premier pairings though for the Misfortune with her AoE hard CC commits. So we'd like to see Missing just lock this one in. I feel like this is a slam dunk pick regardless. But what are they going to go with in the jungle here? Pantheon, you've lost Nafiri, you lost Vi. Luckily, still feel like there's a lot of choices for Shun, even if he wants to go further down into the pool. We've seen a lot of J4s pop up around here. I know he played that one in Game 3 against ThunderTalk, but might lock in the Wukong or the Skarner. Also, there's just so many champions in the jungle I feel like you can play, even into a comp like this from JDG.
Yeah, it'll give him a lot of tanks. I'm
yeah.
kind of worried here for the side of JDG. I feel like you're really looking for Missing to have like a one-of-a-kind ultimate combo, and with the Xin Sao having the Crescent Guard, making bullet time less effective, with 1xN having access to things like the Edge of Night and just being generally very long range, JDG are going to have to come at this fight from different angles. Shun on this Skarner is going to have to be pretty creative. ThunderTalk, however, with the amount of range that they have, I think if they play their cards right, you cut into a 25-30 minute skirmish versus JDG, and you might be feeling really good about your chances in this one. Just the problem that I have with ThunderTalk, they give up a lot of waves. Hoya puts himself in pretty massive disadvantage states in the mid game, just dropping.
I blame scheduling.
Okay,
for...
wait. We're
you
zooming
can't tease
in.
us with the overhead shot. All right, hey!
Let's go!
Here we go! Shopkeeper is happy, we're happy. On to the Rift for the first official game of the second phase of the Rumble Stage round robin. And how do we start it off? I heard an immediate flash. Yeah, Shun's flash already off the board in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah. That's the Nautilus special. You walk through mid, walk into the brush. If they're in there, well, hey, guess what? You're getting invaded upon. So, lose their summoner spells there. Seems like Peyz and Missing want to try to screen, at the very least, grab information on their opponents.
Wait,
Could have only seen SeTab. What's up?
Look at 1xN's rune. Haha.
You can still go poke. You could still go poke.
Oh, this is Cope now. Who goes poke lethality Varus?
Anything's possible, man. Anything's possible. I don't want to get into an auto war versus Misfortune. I'll just be straight up, right?
That's fair.
That's
fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So we'll see. Sion is always going to be a big problem, but you have an Azir on your team, so 2 items. ThunderTalk are also going to be very strong about being able to take objectives with this mid and bot lane duo. So see what they can do. Junglers are pathing to opposite sides. There's an early ward here on Shun's blue buff, so we'll know that he's on the side of the map.
Feather's throwing down already. Dredge line through. They got that ward in, and that lethal tempo from 1xN gets proc, gets some extra damage, and should allow for them to both step up and hopefully grab level 2. But Feather's like, all right, Dredge line's back off cooldown. Guess what? Throw this thing again. Get more damage down.
They can keep going, though. I mean, like, if he gets another hook here, they're going to hit level 2 soon. The Ignite is still up and available for them. As soon as they ding level 2, Peyz and Missing have to be so careful.
Oh, Feather hooks Missing out of his crash shot. He has to flash. 1xN follows, flashes galore, but guess what? It's first blood to ThunderTalk, right where you want it in 1xN's pocket.
The jungler is pathing away, so thankfully Peyz will not be feeling like he's getting dove, but first blood going over to 1xN does feel pretty nice. They had to use a fair bit of their summoner spells to make that play happen, so with Shun coming on down, I wonder if ThunderTalk are going to be looking for that recall sometime soon and then looking to swap with their Ornn.
Still got to buy some time for that swap, but definitely, especially knowing that, I guess we'll find out with maybe pretty immediately with what 1xN might be purchasing on this first back. But if you are going the on-hit Varus, not the poke Varus with lethality, or lethal tempo, you getting early kills definitely factors in a bit extra, I would say, especially towards a comp with an Ornn in his ear. Varus in that on-hit form is definitely a bit more of a scaling threat, so it's always good to get that first kill onto the AD carry, and they should be able to relatively catch a decent amount of this wave, but like you talked about, want to see what the swap looks like here. Got to think that JDG are going to be a fan of it, knowing they're playing the Scion for Ala.
And I like this right here. They had Missing go right back in the bottom lane. He helps his jungler out on the bottom side just in case Xiaohuan and Ren ended up showing up. And so now he'll just cross through mid. They're going to continue to make this push into top side as Peyz and Missing are going to take over this lane. I think Varus is perfectly fine with this trade. You already also had the Xin Sao take over this top side and by getting down a lot of vision. So after they make another, are they going to make another swap here? No, they're just going to keep it. So they're going to send the Ornn and the Nautilus together. I mean, yeah, there shouldn't be any threat onto Varus up until Ala hits level 6.
Yep. Maybe really just making a point that they want to keep control of this top river for when those grubs come around. I know we're still about 2 minutes away from them, but always a big priority for either of these teams. And it's going to feel nice to get those grubs onto the comp with that Azir as a pretty potent side lane threat. And just both teams in general, just LPL teams in general, big time about the grubs, and we'll see exactly where Xiaohong Ren's head is at. Like you talked about, Beichuan was one of the louder voices for ThunderTalk, and it's what adds to how big of a moment this is, knowing it's a jungler stepping in, combining and putting input, adding input to what plays you want to make in this early game, especially knowing what we talked about, all that ThunderTalk aren't always as clean with their movements, drop a lot of waves, trying to sacrificing things for those big neutrals.
Doesn't seem like there's going to be too much here. I mean, Allah's going to hit level 6 probably within the next 2 waves. Ornn is perfectly fine, still getting a similar amount of this gold. It's going to be priority going over.
Uh-oh.
See that? Is he going to invade?
Ren, he's going to get picked by the seismic shove. He just wanted to go for the invade onto the chickens, but now he's flashing on top of Scout, gets the 3-pointed knock-up, but Scout is better timed with his flash, gets out to safety, and Shun welcomes Xiaohong Ren back into the LPL for the first time, and JDG are going to make it a bigger party here. Those ultimates come right online, and JDG making a 2-for-1.
Well, now the game is a bit difficult because Peyz walks from top lane back into mid. He's able to push this wave, catch it for his mid laner. Scout's just going to answer top side if he really wants to. Good roam coming in from Allah, and Xiaohong Ren, I mean, like, we're just going for an invade with very little priority. We were never going to be able to move the Ornn in time. Support and AD carry were kind of in transition. You're just in no man's land, right? Like, this is a very tough dive for them to, or invade to go for, and I think there were some creative angles, but this flash from Scout basically breaks the entire play.
And then, as you pointed out earlier, we knew Allah was going to get that ultimate online soon. Weaver's Wall sets up for just a perfect succinct play, and this is what really feels like. Oh, okay, well,
I feel like there's a lot more hope coming in for this ThunderTalk roster. Now with a new jungler, obviously, maybe there's some hiccups along the way, but...
Oh, I was going to say.
Hey,
all right,
play again. All right.
And we see that ThunderTalk are aggressively hopping on that first set of grubs. It does seem like, so Shun did take one and then got on out of there. So despite all of the heroics of that really good pick play down towards the bot side of the river, it does look like ThunderTalk are going to come out with more grubs on the first turn. Oh, never mind. I misspoke because Xiaohong Ren smites away the scuttle, and now Shun's like, okay, free grub, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I'll take 2 grubs. Not bad, not bad. I think there's a big win coming in for JDG. Just having that taken away from the Azir, having that being taken away from what looks to be an on-hit Varus anyway. So good job coming in from JDG for them being able to contest. I think they just had way more buttons than ThunderTalk did at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Question now becomes, how much priority does ThunderTalk put on this first Drake? It does spawn before the first set of grubs, so this is definitely going to be not the quickest take on this first dragon. And again, we're going to continue talking about that Xiaohong Ren in that driver's seat in his first action for ThunderTalk on the main LPL stage. How does he try to impact the decision making? Because so far, maybe a bit over-aggressive with that first invade. Luckily, second swing, second major play for him in ThunderTalk. Looks like it's going to be a pretty uncontested dragon, though I do see that Shun is pathing bot side, and Missing has an idea this is going on, but it's just a little bit too late to the play.
It's too fake, and also for ThunderTalk, I like what they're doing. They are playing a little bit and leaning towards the side with Azir. We've been seeing this all, time and time again, just being able to make sure that Azir hits his 2 items. He has some pretty expensive ones in his inventory, and it does take him a little bit to get there, but once he has the Nashor's Tooth, once he has the Leandri's, Azir should feel really empowered to take over this game. So I like that they're at least leaning over to their mid laner, and hey, they grabbed themselves a dragon, so only losing 2 grubs, still grabbing the first dragon, and you're only about 800 gold down as the team that has some pretty nasty scaling as this game goes on.
Not bad.
I think ThunderTalk are very happy with the position that they're in.
And, you know, that sort of expensive item conversation becomes twofold now that we know that 1xN, hold on, Dredgeline going to hit there from Feather, and that is going to get the cleanse out of Peyz. So good little grab there from Feather, has been really on point on the knowledge. But back to the point I was making there, all. We see the Vamp Scepter, we see the Berserker Greaves for 1xN. His first 2 items are now going to be much more expensive compared to that Poke Varus we know.
Yep, for sure. Just means that on 2 items, ThunderTalk as a team are going to be really, really good. Right now, we are seeing that JDG, their lane assignments, I feel, have to be this way. You would probably want to see Scout laning up against his mid lane counterpart, but when you have a Talia with, you know, her flash still down, Azir's always going to be fishing with the ultimate, so these lane assignments make a lot of sense with being able to keep JDG in their position. And if you are the side of ThunderTalk, you're saying, okay, cool, you don't want to get taken down, but now I have an Azir that's farming versus Sion. Talia is facing up against Ornn, so the Spectre's Cal is just getting infinite amount of value alongside the Bomby Cinder. ThunderTalk are getting really slow in waste, being able to get golden experience onto certain members of their team, specifically their solo laners, and feeling good about their setup in the game. They haven't even lost mid-push. They still were able to grab that cleanse out of Peyz. Just being able to slowly take these things off.
The first combo is missing, throws down that Magnet Storm. Immediate bullet time there from Peyz. They don't get the kill into Feather, but guess who's going to try and grab it? It's Scout. Immediate depth charge over top, but Xiaohongren cannot protect his lovely support, and right on cue, the global ultimate impact of JDG's composition grabs them Feats of Warfare.
All right, but guess what? That's going to be half this wave top side. You also just lost 3 of your ultimates 30 seconds before the second set of grubs. SeTab does get canceled. Yes, teleport, so he's just going to go for one more wave. If JDG aren't able to get a meaningful amount of damage, which doesn't seem like they're going to be able to, all of this wards, all of these visions, they're probably going to have to recall here. So they're going to end up turning up late for this second set of grubs, and we'll see how ThunderTalk end up setting up for this, as they did end up using that to make sure that 1xN no longer has flash, and Feather is potentially another target they could go for.
Definitely first to move here, and they'll bring Hoya down as well. As you called out, you have all your ultimates available except that Chains of Corruption. This is a spot where JDG have to show some of that veterancy this lineup brings, the patience of it, letting the game come to them here, because we've seen a lot of teams kind of run headfirst into that grub pit to try and contest them, but it seems like CT are more looking for the kill onto Scout, who does have his flash but does not have his Weaver's Wall. Ornhorn committed along with the Emperor's Divine. They're going to corner Scout in the alcove, and Hoya's going to bop him down. Kill found, but what does it potentially cost TT on the backside? Doesn't seem like too much here, as that last grub is going to be secured by Xiaohongren without the smite, so everything gobbled up by TT here on this top side.
Good collapse coming in from ThunderTalk turns into a pretty big win for them, as we did see that Peyz was trying to hit on this mid wave, gets himself about a plate in mid, so trying to accelerate some of that gold between him and his 80 carry counterpart, but still, I mean, Scout opening up a kill for ThunderTalk as well as getting 4 of those grubs. ThunderTalk are very ecstatic right now. They're saying, okay, we're in a strong position. We're the scaling team. We're going to have range advantage over our opponents. JDG, if they want to make this game a bit closer, are going to have to start making some plays on side lanes, which seems like that's a go for SeTab. As, all right, they got the flash out of Azir. There's going to be turret plates now going over to this Misfortune.
And a clear target to regank on those side lanes, no matter who's really going into SeTab. Especially knowing the matchups. If you talked about how Ala was matching into this Azir earlier, if that comes around, you could see immediate Sion angle along with this Skarner. But that does start to pose the question that it will also become a bit worrisome here for JDG. You are definitely you're definitely lacking some consistent damage with this composition, right? It's very burst oriented with a Talia and a Misfortune.
It's all about the pick, right? Just being able to find a seismic shove over the unworked ground, or just being able to find that bullet time setup, which again, we had some questions for, right? Like, is Shun going to be able to get this massive ultimate that's really going to be able to set up Peyz? Is missing even going to find the croshdowns? SeTab has no flash, but it can very easily just shuffle back over the wall. There is a teleport available for Hoya. The dragon has spawned. I don't know if this is really your play. ThunderTalk, I think you just gotta give this one up, boys.
Yeah, he's walking head first into the fog. He's gonna have to flash out. He gets his partner hooked. His Feather once again will have to pay for the sins of his team. Hoya's TPing in a bit too late to this play as well, so JDG is just gonna try and turn onto him. The Crescent Guard does come down for Xiaohongren to buy some more space, but 1xN is completely cut off. ThunderTalk are completely scattered, and JDG are just gonna run right through this fight knowing it. It's gonna wipe down ThunderTalk. No kills found on the turn, missing Peyz' life for a huge bounty.
What was that? ThunderTalk just completely collapsed. Everybody feels like making small errors in that fight turns into a big win for JDG. Just why? Why are we setting up for that? We have
know.
the 4 grubs. Let's continue to use our side lanes. We know that Sion is always going to be able to match, especially with that ultimate. So ThunderTalk end up putting themselves a bit in the hole. Will lose the Dragon as well as the mid-tier one, which was kind of a point of strength for them. Their ability to clear the mid-wave a lot faster than this Misfortune. Now going to the wayside, they have a bit less safety. Taliyah can always cut them off from behind. Like, Hoya is recalling. Why are we even contesting? Let this guy die. The flash comes through. It's unfortunate it lands onto Feather, but they can always collapse a lot quicker with the Sion ult, with the Taliyah Weaver's Wall. So feels like ThunderTalk in for a penny, in for a pound here around the Dragon.
And this really just highlights the struggles that have been apparent for ThunderTalk right out the gate in Group Ascend. You talked about it all before we got into this series officially with SeTab, and you saw there more dysfunction when it comes to just general team fighting and respecting the state of the game. And now you're staring down a reality where all is getting pretty tanky himself, throwing down into SeTab, and also Peyz picking up a ton of those kills, gets to a 3-0 mark on this Misfortune that hits like a truck at that 2-item breakpoint that's coming pretty fast down the tracks.
And look at what JDG are doing. They're not only cutting off this Azir, who we were talking about earlier, needing to get gold, making sure that he hits his item breakpoints on time, but missing alongside Shun, being able to screen this side of the jungle, getting a lot of vision. So be potentially a turret going down, if not getting very close to one. No one from the side of ThunderTalk is in the area. They're not going to be able to contest this. This is just going to be free gold now going over to Scout. I wonder, how close is he to finishing his second item? Because not only grabbing those kills, but also now grabbing the turret as well. This Taliyah is accelerated in the game alongside that Misfortune.
Pays dividends to have your flashback up with that Weaver's Wall available. You can see how much safer Scout feels on those side lanes. Just grabbing and gobbling up as much gold as possible. We have a voracious Otacon in play for this game, and that always, I feel like, leads to one of two things. A team that has a clear lead out of the early game can really kind of put this thing to bed, playing as aggressively as possible, or if we see a 50-50 coin flip, TT opening the door back into this one. Point being, everyone's eyes are really going to drift towards that Otacon after maybe a potential Rift Herald start from JDG.
All right, ThunderTalk, they just need to be able to slow the game down. They're 3,500 gold, which at 16 minutes, not incredible, but I think you are willing to take that as a team that had a little bit of the worst early game considering all things. There's a start around the Herald. I think that ThunderTalk are starting to feel this, and this is the overgrouping that I was talking about. Yeah. Sion has teleport. He has his ultimate. He's going to take the bottom tier 1. Taliyah has Weaver's Wall. They can very easily collapse on in. ThunderTalk need to be careful with how they execute this team fight.
But I like this from JDG. They're getting all of their side lane priority, like you're calling, in order, and now they're coming for the collapse. Weaver's Wall going to cut out the top end play from Scout. Depth Charge going to land on top of Missing, who tries to get his combo down, but there's the bullet time, separating everybody for ThunderTalk. They're once again scattered and looking pretty weak. Feather and 1xN, both below half HP, and Scout knows it. He flashes in, looking for that killer play to shut down ThunderTalk, and while he falls, Peyz picks up all of the pieces behind him. JDG are just too locked in. Team fighting in this game 1, and it might have just sealed the fate of ThunderTalk.
Do they find Hoya? No. Okay, so some more damage on turrets is going to be the play. JDG grab themselves, or they kind of win out on the end of that Herald play. ThunderTalk will have the Herald with the grubs, so if they can, they might be able to break down one of these turrets potentially before the next dragon spawns. It's going from bad to worse as ThunderTalk. We're doing the overgrouping thing where we are dropping gold and experience on the entire map just to make sure we're there for the play. But even our setup isn't that perfect. Feels like 1xN and Feather trying their damnedest to try to get into a good position to potentially save this for their team. But between SeTab and Hoya kind of being a bit lost and being all over this fight, Xiaohuangren not even kind of having much of an impact so far on this Xin Zhao. It feels like it's inevitable at this point as JDG are going to continue to steamroll ThunderTalk, and we haven't even gotten to those 2 items here for the red side.
No, not even close. And on the flip side, while we were worried about the damage profile for JDG, now their tanks are really going to be so difficult to deal with for such a long while. You have 2 tank items done for Ala, and this Hearthsteel sacking for Shun, and he's not too far away from his second break point, so now You got to worry about those frontliners, those guys that need to start the fights and set up Peyz and Scout being too difficult to deal with without the entire might of ThunderTalk.
So let's see how JDG play this game out. They have 6,000 gold. All of the gold feels like it's in the right places. In Scout, in Peyz. Dragons being started up, and look at how they're using their priority. This is a really good job coming in from JDG. Just full court press in mid and bottom lane. Set up for this dragon. Force your opponents to walk in. They're even scouting some of this vision by using the Make It Rain coming in from Peyz.
So
just
smart.
taking all of this vision away from them. And for ThunderTalk, the silver lining here is that they at least got one of the dragons, so they'll stop it from being potentially soul point coming in for JDG, but
Yeah.
we're still kind of waiting, right? Like, they still have the Herald, you're still waiting for 2 items, like...
And here's the problem. They're going to get sped up pretty quickly here. As we talked about a little bit ago, when that window hadn't come yet, Otacon is on the map, and this is Voracious Otacon, right? The one that enables even more snowball, aggressive playmaking. And I just feel like TT are in a position where they can't even really contest this, but again, they're feeling desperate. They're over-grouping, trying to play for this Otacon. They're teleporting in SeTab, so dropping more side lane prio, but for now, Xiaohuang Ren has gotten Xun off of this Voracious Otacon, but you know Xun wants to go for the smite, something that he struggled with a lot in the 50-50 position. He lost that 50-50 to Kanavi not too long ago to seal their fate in Game 2. How does it look up against the rookie? Xun is locked in, immediately snags that, and now everybody on JDG have false lives. Sure, they lose Xun off of the immediate play, but missing crashes down and sets up a beautiful bullet time from Peyz. Everything going the way of JDG. They are just a league above ThunderTalk right now.
That's a triple kill going over to Peyz, and they still have the Otacons to make it true. ThunderTalk cannot stand up to the might. This Otacon's also going to run over at least a minute and a half before the Baron spawns on the top side, so you're feeling amazing about JDG's spot in this game. Now almost 10,000 gold, and it feels like they haven't really missed a step in this game. There's been some instances, obviously Scout has fallen, but you are totally okay with that, especially with how they've played this game so far.
I mean, just look at the gold leads specifically in those damage-dealing lanes here. Is right on cue. Peyz maybe getting a little bit too cute trying to toy with Hoya, but maybe he's baiting all along with Xun and Ala there to protect him. The big beefy boys up front, not letting their misfortune go down.
Oh.
We're not going to talk about that in Pale because Xun still gets the kill over onto Feather, and with those false lives for another minute 15, they can play as much full court press as they want onto the base of ThunderTalk.
Now, fans at home, you might be asking, why are these casters surprised that JDG are even playing half this well? It's more of that consistency. This is the kind of game that I'm expecting from JDG against every other team outside of top 4, top 5. But JDG have been famously inconsistent, as have many of our LPL teams. So we'll see how they close this one out.
Man, they're looking to go for the record of quickest game here in the LPL. The way that Scout is diving in with that Weaver's Wall under 2 Nexus turrets. Bullet time comes down again. This time, Hoya does a pretty good job canceling out Peyz. Step Truck's going to come over across as well to back the misfortune off these Nexus turrets. But SeTab's going to have to do a ton of work with these Sand Soldiers to keep JDG at bay. He goes in for the Shreeman Shuffle, gets one, but it's on to the Scion, who will happily recall back as they lose SeTab. They lose their main wave clear. But luckily for ThunderTalk, there's no more minions playing for JDG, and they'll back out of the base with their inhibitor taken.
Yeah, that was the big play for them. I think SeTab would have been nice if he was able to grab some more kills, but he just said, look, I'm here to get the mini wave. Means that we won't, unfortunately, have our shortest game be decided here, still going over to Top Esports and FPX. But, I mean, you're totally fine with that as JDG.
Yeah.
Now taking most of their base, flashes away from SeTab and 1xN.
Baron in 130.
The one kind of shining point in this map right now is that those 2 items have been hit for the carries of ThunderTalk, but it's just too long. It's been too late now. There's 3 items coming in for JDG's carries, and you're now looking down, potentially starting off this series 0-1 as ThunderTalk.
Really feels like it's just going through the motions for JD Gaming at this point. They got the Baron coming up in about a minute. They don't have the false lives to lean on for anybody any longer, but as you called out, might just be a wallet diff coming in if ThunderTalk try and protect any of these final turrets. They're bringing everybody down to guard this tier 2. But the wave states in mid and top, as they always have been on the other side of the map to JDG's main play, in their favor. So ThunderTalk are continue dropping more resources, trying to protect a tier 2 turret that I really feel like they should just let go. But here we go.
Oh.
They're going to get caught here by Scout.
SeTab.
Good. Emperor's Divide, though. Throws Scout into all of TT, but he had the stasis there. Flashes back out to safety. Turret goes down. SeTab falls as well. ThunderTalk have lost their one-man, two-item power spike Azir, and they look completely scattered, completely shot down. The bullet time may go wide for Peyz, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. JDG are just so much stronger. They are completely outclassed ThunderTalk in items, in gameplay, and just game one overall. Final touches being done by Peyz. He throws down a couple more double taps. It's only Hoya left, and even he falls. A clean ace comes across for JDG, and potentially their cleanest game of the Rumble stage. 25 minutes to take a 1-0 lead over ThunderTalk.
Hey, taking care of business. That's what we want to see from JDG. And now that it's the back half of the split, we had a lot of questions. I mean, JDG just last week replaced their coach, have Homie leave the team. They have Bobo step up.
Yeah.
There were some question marks, and I think still being placed on JDG. I want to see them close out this series very cleanly. I don't want to see a third game coming in for these guys. This should be a quick series coming on through, as we expect coming in. ThunderTalk should not be able to match up with them, not only against pedigree, but in the way that they have played League of Legends so far in 2025. JDG end up taking a resounding Game 1 victory.
And for ThunderTalk, even with the switch up in the jungle, does really feel like all that the same woes have reared their ugly head once more. They had, a good, I think it was like opening 5-ish, 6-ish minutes. They got those first couple of grubs. They were able to make some pick plays on the top side, but once they really found JDG punishing them for some of their movements, they collapsed.
It was tough. I mean, we just got two back-to-back objective fights that were straight up terrible, right? Like, we're playing for second grubs in the Herald. That completely backfires. The Otacon fight was, or the Dragon fight that we saw around bottom side was a complete horror as well. Just ThunderTalk do not have a clear direction. And I want to say, there were some mistakes from Xiaohonren. This game does not feel like it was necessarily his fault. This just felt like another ThunderTalk loss that we have been seeing throughout all of Split 2 and Split 1. So, a little bit of weight off of his shoulders at least, but still, first game of the LPL and already off to a loss doesn't feel too good.
Yeah, I do respect the eagerness he had. A lot of guys coming to their first game on stage, especially in that pivotal jungle role. You could fall in kind of the lulls, just going through the motions, not being proactive enough. We saw him, though, in those opening minutes. Even though it did end up backfiring, I commend the play, looking for that invade, trying to punish Shun and get the ball rolling for ThunderTalk. That's what you want to see in those first baby steps, and that's the reality what this roster kind of is at now that they've made the switch at jungle. You got to just go through a couple of those first steps in the orientation program, it feels like, when you are bringing a new player into that jungle role. So it's going to be a long road forward, but I kind of like what you said earlier, Alk, about how when it comes to teams that make roster swaps, you just want to see them learn from these big-time matchups. And there's a lot of games with ThunderTalk in Group Ascent to learn with their new roster, and this was one of them. They're learning in this game.
I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah.
Almost 4 players got outmatched by a single one. Now, Peyz may have 40% of his team's damage, which is incredible by itself.
Yes.
However, in terms of MVP, feel like no one in particular really kind of gave a standout performance. Maybe Scout.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Scout. I mean, missing. Remember how this game started. They lost the level 2.
Yeah.
Very quickly with Missing dying. So Missing is not quite off the hook for what he's done so far. He has still not been the same support that we saw with Ruler in 2023.
Yeah. I think the only mark on Scout was him getting picked off on the top side. Outside of that, very good game. I just liked Missing's ability to set up those bullet times. I think he had a lot of good combos. But again, I think to your point, not to the discredit of these 5 players, that we don't feel like anybody was super ahead of the rest of the roster. I think that speaks more in volumes to how much of a cohesive team win this was for JDG. Like, one of those games where you want to give the MVP to maybe the whole roster for how they played.
I'm gonna give it to the coach on. I'm gonna give it to maybe some of the ThunderTalk players over there. They deserve it for what they did around some of these objectives. Just it's tough, right? Like we knew coming in that this should be a one-sided. We did see that this matchup a couple of days ago ended up going to 3 with JDG still ending up winning. But a lot of this, I think, for JDG just feels, hey, we played our composition like we wanted to. We collapsed on side lanes really quickly with our Talia and our Scion. We let our Misfortune find amazing bullet times in multiple different fights. This is, I think, the big one that we got to see with Missing crashing down onto 3 and opening up the Otacon and basically ending the game out right after this play. So,
again, just different points in these next couple of replays. You see big plays from everybody. We saw Scout at the Void Grubs pit. The Missing combo comes across for Peyz. Sean maybe gets some praise for a guy like I talked about in the middle of that play. You know, he loses the 50-50 to Kanavi on that Elder that actually ruins the 2-0 over Top Esports. Now, in a much different setting, what does he do? He lands the 50-50 smite up against Xiaohuang in that Octagon pit. That's good for him. That play really helps spark the bullet time. Again, emphasizing here, the main takeaway from this game is that this is arguably the most polished JDG have looked in a single game, all Rumble stage long, and it's what we need to see them do against a bottom-of-the-barrel Ascend team right now in ThunderTalk.
Well, coming into Game 2, I think we still have Nefiri, obviously. Varus now taken off the table is great. The Scion, I think, opens up a lot potentially in the top side as to what we might see from these two. So, kind of back to some of the basics here for ThunderTalk. I want to see more tanks. I think that the Orin as an idea is great, but again, the Galio just adds so much. So maybe even setting up for the Rumble Galio, although I know that ThunderTalk really love on Blue's side to be picking up the Rumble themselves, or even go for the Jace for a player like SeTab.
100%. I'm interested to see how they approach this, because we highlight the jungle pool as a ton of really powerful champions right now, and Beichuan was a driving factor in a lot of their blue side drafts as well, putting him on some of those. So what does it look like with Xiaohuang Ren? We'll have to see here. The MVP does actually go over to Shun, who statistically, I mean, that's a polished KDA, and he gets that 50-50 smite. You called it out. The most convincing fight win they probably had was at the Octagon. He sets it up with a false life. Goes for Shun, who continues to gobble up some of these MVPs. Had one in that Nefiri game we talked about, the last series we saw them against ThunderTalk. Polished, amazing game here from JDG Gaming. Exactly how we want to see them start the second phase of the Royal Rumble, the Rumble stage here in the LPL, as they try and make a push for maybe breaking open the seal in the top 2 of Group Ascend. They'll have to do it with another convincing win up against ThunderTalk, who will see if they can scrap anything together on that blue side. We'll be back live with that Game 2 draft, and a word from our sponsor. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You don't have to say anything. Before I go to that break, I have some important people I want to shout out here. We're extremely grateful to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk pays on air talent and the content creators behind the scenes here. Subscribe to our Coffee linked in chat to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. So big shout out to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers. There are links below and in chat to let you join the party there for the unofficial LPL English podcast. Like I was saying, though, short break. On the other side, we're hearing from one of our sponsors, and we'll have Game 2 draft between Thunder